Ralph Cabbage, Aquaman Knox. Here we go with the BioMaster 600 by Oase as part of our series of the Canister Filter Wars. How do we get to the best canister filter? This is Oase right here in the box. 350 gallons per hour, 6.6 feet of head, 23 watts. Now let's see how it actually performs. As you all know, this is a canister that I own a lot of. I've used probably a dozen of these that run continually on tanks I have right now, combined with the Fluval I have on George's tank and the 2217 I still have on a Planet Aquarium. Let's see how this comes in the box. I've done other videos. They're all similar on the BioMaster, but we're going to dig into this one specifically because it's the one comparable to the 2217 that a lot of people are talking about. When you get this initially, it comes in the cardboard. I wish they would put it in a plastic bag because it can get jostled around in shipping a little bit, although this one looks like it arrived perfectly fine and is flawless. You'll get a box of media and parts, and that is where your instructions are. The instructions are better than any of the other European countries, mostly just because they have clear, easy color pictures. Again, I wouldn't call any of these instructions great, but they are better than average. And that's why people do the videos, and we're going to push those to the side because I do not need those. Okay, it's going to come with a really long spray bar. So you have the ability to run a shorter or a longer spray bar, and that's something that is different from the other models. Most of them will come with a short spray bar. Outlet tube is easily extendable. Now, this is the non-thermo unit. This is just the BioMaster. And what that means is it's going to come plugged. You come in the box, you'll get another plug, which you can use with an Oase heater if you want to add a heater to that. And that is a feature, and along with the pre-filter, that is completely unique to any of the other canisters. Nothing else on the market can do both of those things. Get the heater out of the aquarium and give you a very, very large functional pre-filter. And then you have all of the outlet pipes. Again, most aquascapers, they have the ability to adjust the flow on these. They have inlet and outlet. Most of the people and they even give you a little piece of tubing already cut. Most of the time, I'm going to customize the inside of any canister filter, this one as well, and you can see that in one of my other videos. And we're going to put clear tubing on here because it comes with gray tubing, and the gray tubing is rigid, and it's okay. It's similar to the Pro tubing that is on the Eheim. I think it's a little stiffer. I don't think it's as good a quality as on the Eheim, but neither of them are great. I don't like any of these tubings. They're rigid as can be, and they drive me crazy. I do like, as crazy as it is, this doesn't say Eheim all the way up and down it, because if you're going to see it coming out of a cabinet, I don't want to see a name all the way up and down it, like I forgot to do something. But I would change this out to Vincon, and I would use clear tubing. I would use a stainless steel surface skimmer. I would use a glass inflow and outflow if I were doing a really nice aquarium. But for this comparison, we're going to get down to just the filter itself. First of all, you have to raise the lid on these to open them, and I'm going to go ahead and show you the pre-filter. I've done this before. We're going to do it again. So you unlock, which that's your quick disconnects, and that turns them off and allows them to be removed. They're nice in the fact that they can be rotated. Depending on the setup, they can be rotated around. Okay, once they're off, you can unlock your pre-filter, and then your pre-filter is removable. There's a little spring at the bottom that, while it's working, keeps water from dripping all the way to the kitchen sink. And you take just this part, and you're rinsing this pre-filter. Just boom, take off the little cylinders and rinse the pre-filter. That's all you've got to do if you pack this baby right every 2 weeks to a month. And it's quick, it's easy, and you can keep your tank clean. Something a lot of people never do. When the canister filters are hard to get into, people don't want to mess with it. They don't want to get in there. They don't want to clean. They put it off. They don't do what they're supposed to do. And this eliminates you being lazy, because there's no reason not to do this. It's fairly easy. The only thing you have to be careful of is if you want to not have to move the canister filter, that's a lot of height in a stand. So if the stand doesn't have this much height, you're still going to have to take this nice beefy handle, which it is strong enough when full of water to pick it up. None of the other models had that nice beefy handle, and you can move it out so that you can get to your, the pre-filter. Okay, once it's off and the handle's up, you have to put the handle up to allow the clips to unfold. You can unfold the clips. Everything about this canister filter feels strong. The plastic is thick, it's double walled in places, and it's nice. It doesn't feel like it's going to break in any way, shape, or form. Pre-filters, it's going to use a tray system. It has a unique design simply because of that pre-filter, and you've seen in other videos you can take that and cut your own padding. Again, this comes with multiple layers of sponges, and I'll put them back in the reverse order after I get to the bottom one. There's more trays in this than any of the other models that we've seen. So it's going to come with 2 layers of this plastic pre-filter media. Now, it comes in its own mesh bag. We're going to leave it in there so you can easily clean it out. But that allows some bypass, because if you don't put it in there loose, it doesn't form and actually cover every little hole. Okay, so remember that. This plastic media is better and has more surface area than the Eheim little black, it looks like cut up tubing that they put in their Pro model. So this is going to be a significant upgrade to that. Again, if you look at my other video, which we'll link to below on how to pack one of these and make it better, you can make this and all the canister filters much better than how they come standard. The trays are easy to get in and out, and they line up pretty well as long as you don't overpack them. I don't really have any issue. I would remove this again and use more biological media instead of the sponge, but Oase relies on these sponges, and that's okay for some applications. So how many trays do we have in there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 6 would be the fine top tray. And then remember, that's combined with the pre-filter. So there's even more stages. This is their final stage. Here, I usually will put this down a tray level, and I use this with fine cut bonded padding, and I mentioned that in other videos, but for comparison's sake, we're gonna go right with how these come standard. The clips seem really sturdy on this model, and I've always been happy I haven't had one of these leak from an issue with clips. So that probably means this one will, but no, it should be fine. This is one little slightly tricky thing you want to make sure of. When you turn this, you want to make sure that when you can pull up on that and it's in place, because one of the things you can mess up on is, let's say you don't put it in all the way, you can lock that and that's loose, and then you can turn that on and flood the floor. So just make sure that when you lock it, pick up on it a little bit, and then you know it is in place. The feet are in here, and I mentioned before in one of the other videos about the feet, they use a taller rubber foot, and you gotta be careful you don't pull them off, but this is nicer than a stick-on foot because it's taller and it adds more flexibility, so there's less vibration of the foot itself. Put those on now before they're full with water. See, they go all the way up and into a hole, and that's something that seems like no big deal, but once you pull a couple of these off and they end up lost, you will appreciate this instead of something that just sticks onto the bottom. Put a lot of attention to detail on this unit. Okay, now we're in place, and now we're going to cut the tubing. Again, for sake of the test, we are going to cut the tubing directly in half so that uses the full length of tubing. Puts a little bit extra pressure on that canister filter as far as head pressure, and we did the same with every model that we tested, and they all were tested at the same height. This unit again uses the lock nuts. You screw these onto the canister filter first. They're all the same size. Put your tubing on. Remember, if you need to heat up the tubing or wet it, that'll help you get it on if it's hard for you to get on, but you should be able to get it on without that. And then you reverse the thread. Now this filter is marked in and out. In English, no arrows, it says in and out. So you can clearly see what the in and the out is. The in is the water into the canister, out goes back to your aquarium. Okay, now, remember, put those into place. There's more parts on this model than a lot of them. We are not going to be able to get, well, yeah, maybe we will. No, we cannot get the full spray bar on there, and for comparison's sake, because there's the same number of holes as this and the other, we want to just use the one spray bar. Comes with a nice, and I do like this better than the Eheim. Instead of just the tube, you get a unit that you can actually rotate around as needed. And I like the suction cups that come with it too. They have two different stop points on them. You can push them all the way in, or you can leave them partially out. And they are a little hard to get together compared to Eheim, but they hold together. The suction cup holds in there better. You have to twist it, and there's a small little groove that it goes into, so it's harder to pull loose. If you saw in the other videos, I was able to pull very easily, just disengage the Eheim suction cup. Here we go. So Oase, they have that little feature that I like. Okay, we'll pop those in there all the way, and we'll have the spray bar here. Again, we're going to turn, this is easier to turn because it has a fitting instead of hooked with tubing, and we're going to aim that down. See how that flexibility in those little stems? That's something kind of interesting that they do with those suction cups, and I've mentioned to it, they'll stay together, and you have the ability, a little bit more range of motion, if you will. If you don't like spray bar, you have an outlet like that you can use instead of the spray bar. But again, for the test purposes, we're using all spray bars because that's how we started it, and that's how we're going to end it. You've got adjustable intake. So you don't take it all the way to the bottom, but you have the ability to raise and lower that stem where you had to cut off the Eheim and sit there and fight with that. You don't have to do that on this unit. Again, in this aquarium, it's not going to fit exactly right, and you would have to, I don't even think this has enough range. It's close. It's close. It almost works. So still may have to cut this one off just a little, but it almost works. So we're gonna leave it like that, double checking my inflow, which is gonna go to that. Reverse thread that little screw, and then my outflow. Now there's loops in this tube. They send more tubing with this particular canister filter. So in fairness, this could make it hard to could make it harder to prime because of the loop in the tubing. You don't want to leave a loop in your tubing as a general rule. You want to not loop the tubing so you don't have to deal with that. But here we go, we're gonna prime it. Let's see if it starts. That has a solid prime. It's just one push. I did a second push, but you didn't even need to do that. It just worked. And it's filling up, as you can hear. And it's going to drain a lot of water because this thing holds a lot of water. It's a big volume canister filter, slightly taller than the other models, slightly more area on the inside of it because of all the features that it has. So we're going to have to, I'm going to leave this up for the video of the water flow. We will leave it right here for comparison, and I may have to add water for the noise part of it. Now the sponges that come in this take longer to get air out of than regular media. So you'll have some fine bubbles that come out of this for a longer period of time, sometimes a couple of days, as that the bubbles work their way out of those sponges. That's one of the disadvantages to all those layers of sponge material. The advantage to them is obviously you can grab them and rinse them, and that's why they use them, and they obviously grow bacteria and have surface area. I prefer the BioMatrix, and we'll just let that film a little bit so you can see there's still air coming through that unit, and that's what's causing that. I'm going to get some water and top this off because I'm not going to be able to push this particular spray dryer down under the water. And there goes the mold. So far, so there's 2 gallons of water I've added and still haven't covered it. This canister held a lot of water. Very quiet canister filter. $33.2. $33.2 to $33.4. $38.7 to $39.4 decibels is the reading close to the unit a foot off. There's the Oase. Now we're going to take these apart. We've tried them all on aquariums and real world applications. We'll show some of that as we can. And then we're going to get down to the final conversation on which one of these units should you buy. Right now, right off the top, Oase is a new deal. It changes everything. It adds features that no one else has thought of. They're still not perfect. No canister filter is, but good grief. There's a reason that I have so many of these on aquariums. There's a reason I actually got rid of perfectly fine brand new canister filters and put these on my tanks because I can take care of them faster, easier, and they provide better biological filtration when you pack them and customize them. I'm Ralph Cabbage. Be sure to subscribe to my channel. Aquaman Knox. Have a great day.